All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a beast that I'm sure many of you know all too well, the cloud bill. It's powerful, it's absolutely essential, but man, those costs can feel like they have a mind of their own. So today, we're going to demystify it, we're going to tame it together. So let's just jump right into the big question. Why is it that every month that invoice feels less like a receipt and more like, I don't know, a riddle you have to solve? You're using all these incredible on-demand computing resources, but that same flexibility, well, that's where the complexity comes from. And all of a sudden, budgeting just feels like a total guessing game. In this right here, this analogy really nails it, doesn't it? It feels just like a utility meter that's constantly spinning on the wall, except you have no idea what the price per kilowatt is. It can change based on all these factors that you're not even tracking. It's that feeling of being out of control, and that's exactly what we're here to change. You know, the incredible power of the cloud is all about that pay-as-you-go model and the ability to scale up and down instantly. But, and this is a big but, it is a total double-edged sword. The hidden cost isn't some obvious line item on your bill. Oh no, it's buried deep inside the complexity of hundreds of different services, and every single one has its own wacky pricing rules. So, if we're gonna get a handle on this bill, we first have to understand the menu. And at the highest level, cloud pricing really just boils down to two main models. The best way to think about it, it's like choosing between ordering a la carte versus paying for a fixed price buffet. All right, so let's decode that menu. Let's really get into the specific pricing models that figure out how all those charges actually add up on your bill.
First up, we've got pay-as-you-go, and it's pretty much what it sounds like, right? You only pay for what you consume, which is awesome for those spiky, unpredictable workloads. The thing you gotta watch out for, though, are those sneaky variables, like fees for moving your data out. Then you've got the other side of the coin, subscription-based. Here you're paying a fixed fee, often at a nice discount, for a set amount of services. The trade-off is really simple. It's flexibility versus predictability.
Now, it doesn't just stop there. On top of those basic models, providers love to use something called tiered pricing. Here's how it works. Your consumption gets broken into different bands, or tiers. And the cool part is, the more you use, the less you actually pay per unit as you move up into the higher tiers. It's basically a volume discount. It's great because it rewards you for scale, but it also kind of challenges you to be smart about your usage so you can hit that most efficient price point. Okay, so now we know how we're charged. But what are we actually being charged for? This is where we make a pivot. We go from just understanding the bill to investigating it. Yup, it's time to put on our detective hats.
At its absolute core, your bill really comes down to these four fundamental resources. We're talking CPU, memory, storage, and network bandwidth. Every single CPU cycle, every gigabyte of RAM or storage, and especially every bit of data transferred over the network, it's all being measured. And that last one, network bandwidth, that is often the one that surprises people the most.
And the official term for all this tracking is called metering. Think of it as the foundation. It's the process where the cloud provider is tracking every little thing. Now, all this raw data, it doesn't just create your bill. It's also the gold mine you'll use for all your cost-saving efforts down the line. Which leads to the big question, right? It's one thing to have all this real-time data, but having it and actually using it are two very different things. So what do you do with all that information to actually make a difference? Well, let's get to the solution. We're going to frame this as 3 simple, totally actionable rules. These are the core strategies you can implement, like right away, to start seeing a real impact on your spending. Just 3. Remember that number. We're not talking about complex, abstract theories here. We're talking 3 practical, highly effective best practices for managing your cloud finances. First up, right sizing. This is about matching your compute resources to what your application actually needs. It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised. It means you have to be really diligent about monitoring so you're not just burning cash on expensive, oversized machines you aren't even fully using. Second is eliminating waste. The cloud's flexibility makes it super easy to spin up new resources, which also makes it incredibly easy to forget about them. That's why you have to actively go on a hunt for these zombie assets. You know, old storage volumes, idle instances that are just sitting there running up your bill for no reason. The mantra is simple. If you're not using it,
turn it off.
And our third golden rule is auto-scaling. This is really the smart way to operate. Instead of trying to guess your capacity needs, you let the system automatically adjust resources to match demand in real time. That means you're not over-provisioned and wasting money during quiet times, and you've got all the power you need when you get those big traffic spikes.
So, we have our 3 golden rules. Now let's zoom out and put them into a broader, more strategic context. This is all about building a long-term financial management playbook so you can keep those costs under control for good.
And it all starts with budgeting. Effective budgeting means you're not just guessing. You're analyzing historical data and aligning what you need in the cloud with your business goals. It moves you out of that reactive state where you get a bill and just react to it into a proactive one where you're actually forecasting your spending and setting your own limits. Now, to manage costs inside your company, 2 models are really common: chargeback and showback. With chargeback, you actually bill different departments for their specific cloud usage. And trust me, nothing drives accountability like a real invoice. Showback is a bit softer. You simply show teams their usage costs. The goal isn't billing, it's just creating visibility, making people aware of the financial impact of their work.
So let's end with this. Your cloud bill isn't just an expense. It's a detailed story about how your organization uses technology. It reveals where you're being efficient, where you're being wasteful, and where your biggest opportunities are. And now you have the tools to read that story and, more importantly, to write the next chapter yourself. So, what story is your bill telling you?